Welcome to this lesson on the increased risk that women face of developing dementia and the steps a woman can take to reduce her risk. In the last lesson, we discussed how the cumulative effects of an unhealthy lifestyle increases your risk for developing dementia, and that it's never too late to adopt a healthy lifestyle to reduce your risk of developing the brain diseases that cause dementia or to manage dementia symptoms if you are starting to experience them. In this lesson, I want to share why women are at a much higher risk of developing dementia than men and the important steps that a woman can take to protect her brain at different stages in her life to reduce her dementia risk. So Alzheimer's disease is the most common type of dementia, and for every man suffering with Alzheimer's, there are 2 women living with this debilitating disease. We know that women have a much higher risk of breast cancer, and everybody understands that breast cancer is a woman's issue. But a woman in her 60s is almost twice as likely to develop Alzheimer's disease in her life than she is to develop breast cancer. And at the heart of why women have a higher risk of Alzheimer's disease than men is the way their brain ages. A woman's brain ages differently to a man's brain. A man's brain ages gradually at about the same pace as they get older, whereas a woman's brain ages in a much more stepwise fashion. And there are moments in a woman's life that either accelerate brain aging or slow down brain aging. And it's not that a female brain looks different to a male brain. There's very little evidence for the notion of a female brain or a male brain for that matter. But there are some really important differences in the way a woman's brain ages and responds to the hormonal changes at key stages in her life that drives aging and a woman's risk of dementia. So hormones are critical for the brain health of men and women at all ages, but unlike men, women experience 3 productive stages in their lives that change their brain in unique ways. We call these the 3 Ps: puberty, pregnancy, and peri-menopause. These 3 stages in a woman's reproductive life are accompanied by huge hormonal changes that have massive effects on her brain. And the cumulative effects of these hormonal changes over a woman's lifetime can increase her chances of developing Alzheimer's disease and dementia. But with this knowledge, there's a lot a woman can do to reduce her dementia risk by enhancing her brain health with the right lifestyle changes. So let's start with what happens to a woman's brain during puberty. So during puberty, hormones control certain functions in your body and brain. And these hormones play a key role in making an adolescent girl's brain receptive to learning and new experiences. And the hormonal changes that occur during puberty can also increase the risk for mental health challenges like depression and persistent depressive symptoms in females. And both depression and anxiety have been linked to an increased risk for Alzheimer's. So trying to reduce the number of young women living with depression through early diagnosis and talking therapy and drug treatment is really valuable for a woman's life on every level. So what can you do to protect the brain during puberty? Well, more than anything, it's critical for a girl going through puberty to be given the physical and social conditions she needs to have good brain health. So that includes things like having access to brain healthy foods, doing regular aerobic exercise, getting a full complement of 8 to 9 hours sleep every night that she needs, and living in a caring, safe and stable home environment. And reducing a young woman's exposure to environmental toxins is also critical. So environmental toxins are bad for the brain at any time in life, so reducing exposure to them is critical, whether it's air pollution, ingested toxins, and products that may interfere with estrogen production, like certain makeups and plastics. Choosing stainless steel or glass products over plastics can help drinking filtered water as well, and avoiding foods that have pesticide residue or a lot of artificial ingredients in them. So aerobic exercise fuels a woman's brain, a young girl's brain, with oxygen and encourages the growth of new brain cells, which are critical for her learning and memory consolidation during adolescence. Getting enough sleep during puberty is also crucial for memory consolidation, learning, stress reduction, and supports a young woman's immune system. So it's essential for adolescent girls to stay away from drugs and alcohol because these are particularly toxic for their developing brain and can actually shrink parts of their brain before they're fully developed. So the brain is drastically changing during puberty, and it's important not to compromise it through exposure to unhealthy elements and to nurture it through a healthy lifestyle. So what happens to the brain during pregnancy? Well, when women become pregnant, their body and brain experience a massive surge in hormones followed by a big drop after the baby is born. And many women report that they experience baby brain or pregnant brain, which neuroscience research has now shown can include brain fog symptoms like a mild decline in mental ability, memory problems, and in the executive mental skills used every day to learn, work, and manage daily life. And in lots of ways, pregnancy resembles puberty as the brain is exposed to a large influx of hormones that in this case prepare you for giving birth, while at the same time affecting brain function too. So for some women, the waves of estrogen that their brain experiences during pregnancy may actually protect them from developing Alzheimer's disease later in life. The high blood sugar that develops during pregnancy, gestational diabetes, is also a really high risk for developing type 2 diabetes in midlife, which, as I will discuss in the next lesson, is a really big risk factor for Alzheimer's disease. So how can you look after your brain during pregnancy? Well, during pregnancy, as much as she possibly can, a woman should try to get enough sleep, exercise, and eat brain healthy foods. A brain healthy diet which is packed with vitamins and minerals, healthy fats like olive oil and fish and lean protein and green leafy vegetables is the perfect brain healthy diet to follow. So where possible, it's also advisable to avoid processed foods, refined sugar and too much salt, because these foods can lead to unhealthy weight gain, fatigue, and even a higher chance of developing high blood pressure or gestational diabetes. So it's also really important for a woman to take time to look after herself during this tumultuous time. There are so many overwhelming changes that happen inside their brain and the body, and life is going to change dramatically with the joy and the hard work that comes with a new arrival. So what about the peri-menopause? The time during which a woman's body makes the natural transition to menopause, marking the end of her reproductive years. So the hormonal changes women experience in midlife are actually a trigger for many of the medical conditions known to affect a woman's brain more than a man's brain. So in midlife, a woman's body and brain experience a dramatic drop in estrogen levels, which in turn triggers a cascade of brain changes, including changes to brain structure, connectivity between different brain regions, and brain energy consumption. So most notable is that many women going through perimenopause and menopause experience a drop in brain energy levels, which shows up as hot flushes, extreme fatigue, brain fog, memory lapses, insomnia, depression, anxiety, and tiredness. And later in life, these brain symptoms of menopause also make a woman more susceptible to developing Alzheimer's disease. In fact, the menopause consistently comes out in studies as the highest risk factor for women developing Alzheimer's disease. So how can a woman look after her brain during perimenopause and reduce her risk of dementia? Well, the best place to start is to look at a woman's lifestyle. Adopting a healthy lifestyle is the best way to start mitigating the drop in estrogen levels on a woman's brain and her risk of dementia. So diet, aerobic exercise, stress reduction, sleeping correctly, staying away from pollutants, that's the best way to take care of a woman's brain health. And women should also keep alcohol to a minimum and avoid smoking. All of these lifestyle factors have a really big influence over a woman's estrogen levels and in turn her brain function. So hormone replacement therapy, or HRT, or menopausal hormonal treatment, MHT, can also be used to boost hormonal levels. So there's growing evidence that very low doses of hormones, often applied to the skin with creams or ointments, or as an oral pill, works really well for many women, mitigating many of the brain symptoms of menopause, thereby reducing her risk of Alzheimer's later in life. So it's important to say that not all women are eligible for hormonal replacement therapy because of their medical history. So this treatment option should be carefully considered in discussion with your GP or physician. So we now know that men and women appear to develop Alzheimer's for different reasons. A man's brain health appears to be at more risk from cardiovascular factors like stroke and heart attack, whereas a woman's brain health is at higher risk from hormonal and metabolic factors. So it's critical that a woman receives the right health, neurological and psychological guidance to get the best and most appropriate preventative care for their brain health during every phase of their life. So what are the key messages that you can take away from this lesson? Well, women are at much higher risk of developing dementia than men. For every man suffering with Alzheimer's, there are 2 women living with this disease. And a woman in her 60s is almost twice as likely to develop Alzheimer's disease in her life than she is to develop breast cancer. And the dramatic hormonal changes at the key reproductive stages in a woman's life, puberty, pregnancy and peri-menopause, contribute to a woman's brain health and ultimately her risk of developing Alzheimer's disease. But a woman can dramatically reduce her dementia risk by adopting a brain healthy lifestyle, such as a nutritious diet, regular aerobic exercise, reducing uncontrolled stress, and getting good amounts of restorative sleep. And I will lay out the exact lifestyle changes you need to adopt to improve your brain health and how to implement them in the Dementia Prevention Toolbox in Module 3. So in the meantime, I will look forward to seeing you in the next lesson, where I will discuss why diabetes increases your risk for dementia and what you can do to prevent or even reverse diabetes to dramatically reduce your risk.